Dave Aranda is not a top 5 football coach in the Big 12.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
At least that's what today's guest says. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Baylor, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm your host, Cam Stuart of ESPN Central Texas and The Cam Show on Rogue Media Sports Network. Joining me today is a colleague, a friend, a teammate at the Rogue Media Sports Network from ESPN, Inside the 12, the Pete Sousa Show. It's Pete Sousa. We are talking about his top 5 head coaches in the Big 12 and why, spoiler alert, he has left Dave Aranda off.
I give you credit because, like, most people that aggregate stuff and put it out there, they don't like aggregate stuff, rip it out of context, and say it right in front of the person, like you just did to me as you teased Locked On Big 12, right? Or Locked On Baylor. You said Dave Aranda is not. There is nuance to this whole thing.
That's what we love. We love a little nuance. We're going to talk some nuance.
Yeah, but no, honestly, it's weird because as I was a little frustrated with the way that we came on the air, I love you even more now because it's hardcore. You're hardcore. You're hardcore journalism, and you don't run or hide from anything. So that's good.
Jeez. Checks in the mail, Pete. Love that. We're also going to be talking about, because Pete covers the whole Big 12, we're going to talk about the players that are going to come out of nowhere this year, and we're going to talk about his guy, Deion, back at Colorado, ? All that and more coming up on this episode of Locked On Baylor. So let's get into the nuance, Pete. All right, you on the Pete Sousa Show, which is also produced by Scotty Swingler of the Please Bear With Me podcast, who we had on the show a few weeks ago. You guys did your individual list for the top 5 coaches in the Big 12. And Dave Aranda's appearance on these kinds of lists, top 5s, top 10s in this conference, is very divisive. Like, let's be honest. For opposing fans, for Baylor fans, there's going to be people in the comment section, Pete, that are vehemently agreeing with you before I get into my point. So let's hear who you have as your top 5 head football coaches in the Big 12 in 2025.
All right, can I bring my list up now?
You can do it. You can do it.
Because it's not committed to memory because I'm just not that bright. Okay. Let's start at 5. I have 2 number 5s.
Yeah, this is already Pete cheating. Yep. Gotcha.
So Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, and Chris Kleiman. Now, they're both 5. I think what Coach Prime is doing sort of speaks for itself. And I think we may see this year the machine that he's created at Colorado sort of take over. Like, their over-under, I think, is 6.5 wins. I think they'll surpass that. And I think it's because of the infrastructure in that program that he's created that I think they could really morph into a juggernaut. This all under his direction. And there have been, like, rocky times at sea there. And what he did at Jackson State was awesome. Chris Kleiman speaks for itself. I mean, he came right from the FCS, took Bill Snyder's job, kicked ass, really was very close to a Big 12 championship when they lost to TCU. Why is Sonny Dykes not on this list? They beat
TCU and won the Big 12 championship.
Yeah, sorry. They beat TCU. Yeah, thank you. But they didn't. But that's the year the TCU went to the title.
Correct.
So Kenny Dillingham, I have him as number 3. Or is it 4 at this point? It's 4. Okay. I have him as 4 simply because the only reason I don't have him higher is because he doesn't have a body of work to pull from. I mean, he had a huge year last year, and the year prior was pretty good, right? For somebody who takes over a dormant program. I just need more time on planet Earth for him to continue to grow. Mike Gundy, Mike Gundy's easy. Mike Gundy had his worst season since in his tenure last year, and the worst season at Oklahoma State since 1991. I swear, Cam, Alan Bowman just got hurt again. Like, somebody just got injured again. It was a rough year for Oklahoma State. Nick Martin was lost after like the first 4 games. It was just like anything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And so I believe this year we'll be looking at Mike Gundy and be like, wow, can't believe. And I think Oklahoma State fans will happily wear the egg on their face when they have a pretty good year. I had number 2, Kyle Whittingham. I mean, the guy is a monster of a coach. coach. I mean, he really is. And I think now the more you get into these lists and these names, it sort of makes it understandable how an all-star coach like Dave Aranda could get left off. Number one, Matt Campbell, sort of like a low-key Matt Campbell, like, won 11 games last year, first time in Iowa State history. Mm-hmm. That program has been really bad in years past. And, somebody could say, 9-8 wins a year, that's like a middling team. It's, what? Like, nobody gets tired of that. If you get tired of that, it's your problem. And by the way, he was getting forward. Like, the Chicago Bears, by all accounts, wanted him to be their head coach.
Yeah, it's true. Not that long ago, a couple months ago.
No, a couple months ago. So, and Dave Aranda being absent from this list, really, and it's my own fault. Once again, I got to look in the mirror. I love Dave Aranda so much that like the bias that I have against, my love for Dave is out of control, and I didn't want it to tarnish the rest of the list. Truly. Okay. Like I should have.
What is that? What is that? So if you say, by
the way, I hate lists. This stuff is nonsense, but it tracks in the summertime when there's nothing going on.
Well, yeah, that's why I've been doing it all summer. Yeah. But like, if you tell me that Dave Aranda is not a top 5 coach in the Big 12, I can hear that. Yeah. Like, I understand that. You know what I mean? I would need kind of with this list in particular, you can do it with players too, but specifically with coaches, I need to know, are you going off of anybody, by the way, not just Pete? I need to know, are you going off of resume? Are you going off of context? Or are you doing a little bit of both? Right? Because if we're doing resume, Dave's in there. Like, you need 5 coaches who won a conference championship. Dave's done that. And I know we could say it's been really up and down since then. Of course it has. But in that year, he did something that not a lot of coaches in the Power 4 have done. Won the conference championship, won a New Year's Six Bowl, finished the season with a top 5 ranking, and beat 5 ranked teams throughout the season. Big 12 teams don't do that. Okay. Yeah. That was a pretty great achievement. But where I get lost in this, Pete, how is Deion a better coach? How is he a better coach than Lance Leipold? I'm all ears.
Well, I think there's all kinds of intangibles that Deion brings to the table that really qualify him to be a top 5 coach in this league. You could say he's number 1 if you're.
I mean, if you're a liar, you can. If you don't know ball, you can. Come on, Pete. Yeah, number 1.
You have to. The fact that we're talking about college football, you have to incorporate the lifeblood that Deion is for that entire university, right?
I get it, though. He's a brand, though.
Money talks, man.
That's great.
Yeah. Okay.
We're talking about a coach here.
So hold on. So that's one thing. Okay.
Okay.
He dominated. If we're going to celebrate Chris Kleiman for dominating at the FCS level, I think we can celebrate Deion Sanders, right? That program he inherited was a show, right? Last year, they were flirting with the college football playoff. Again, with all of these things put together, and also I think like a charismatic leader, someone who you want to get behind. I mean, if you watch that press conference today, somehow the guy remains incredibly likable, even though he slaps media around when they say things about him that he doesn't like, which is wrong. But I don't think it's that hard to sell. And also, too, as I spoke today on the Pete Sousa Show, which you can watch every day on YouTube and on X, I talked to Kevin Borba from our Locked On family, Locked On Buffs. Mm-hmm. And Kevin and I talked about, the work that Deion has done delegating, his ability to hire very good assistants and let them do their thing. So often, some of these coaches cannot get out of their own way. Deion, he gets out of the way.
Dave Aranda hired a pretty good OC last year.
He did. Look,
so the thing with that hangs me up on Deion is using all that. If you're going to do a blind ACC ranking list, where's Bill Belichick? Top 3? I mean, he's bringing a lot of attention to North Carolina.
Bringing
a lot of money in.
I'd have to look at the list of coaches, but pardon my language, by the way, Locked On fam. But I would put Bill Belichick probably number 2.
That's wild though, Pete. Like we know he's a great.
Why is it wild? He's
but he hasn't coached in the conference. He hasn't coached in the conference. He's coaching in
the ACC. That is not wild.
Like, and you're talking to a Belichick guy.
Kim, Bill Belichick, your guy, dominated the NFL.
I know.
He's coaching in the ACC.
He's the best NFL coach ever.
Huh?
He's the best NFL coach ever, but he hasn't coached in the ACC.
Jerry Glanville coaching in like the CFL 30 years after he left the Falcons. Like this is like 2 years
Lovie Smith made a Super Bowl. Look, what did he do in Illinois? You know, like
I was thinking about that the other day too. I think when I was thinking about my Matt Campbell, I swear to God, I was going through Bears head coaches. I was like, wow, Lovie Smith wasn't that good, but he went to a Super Bowl. Look, I
is good for the league. He's good for the league.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's like a great coach yet. I just don't. And that's
also
okay to be like, I need a couple of years.
It is. And that's why this is my list, right?
Charlie Strong getting rid of a bunch of ne'er-do-wells at UT didn't end up going well, you know? Like we run into these things.
No, we do. But Deion has defied logic at every turn. And I think that's something he's proven. I mean, and by the way, if we want to talk pro jobs, he was in the mix for the Cowboys job, but that doesn't make you.
Which would have been hilarious, but
it would have been bad.
Probably would have been a better hire than they did.
Yeah,
but that's for a different day. We're over time. We've gone through the top 5 coaches. Now we will look at the players that are going to shock you this season from the host of Inside the 12 himself with Pete. Coming up next on Locked On Baylor. But first, a message from our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. Boy, am I going to need this week moving across the country. It is time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your game. Let's be honest. Some days on the course or off it, you need that little extra boost to stay sharp and energized. That's where 5 Hour Energy comes in. Just like golf, life is all about good times with good people and good flavors, of course. The grape ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the bev cart. So check it out today. Use the code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your first order at 5hourenergy.com. That's the number 5hourenergy.com. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used on other promotions. This code is not good on subscription orders. So whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion flavored 5 Hour Energy shots today. Back here with Pete Sousa.
That was a heck of a promotional read there.
Thank you.
I'm serious.
We got some good sponsors this week that I will be really using this week.
The 5 Hour Energy. I'd love to have you over at the Pete Sousa Show.
That would be fantastic. That'd be fantastic. Pete Sousa of the Pete Sousa Show, of Inside the 12. And, of course, you hear his voice calling games on ESPN as well. Almost said ESPN 2. That would have been misleading. But, Pete, you're getting ready. You're getting geared up for another Inside the 12 season. We've talked a few times in this offseason about, some of your takes. I think last time we talked about coaches. With the most to prove. And now I'm thinking about players because all offseason I've been like comparing Sawyer Robertson to Sam Leavitt and to Devin Dampier and all these guys. And I know there are some Baylor guys that are going to break out. But as we look across this league, we talk so much about the quarterbacks. And maybe a quarterback will appear on your list. I don't know. But like, do you have a guy or two that you just think nobody's talking about and they're going to be talking about in the first few weeks of the Big 12 season?
Well, okay, since you've got quarterback fatigue, I'll save my quarterback for number 2.
Okay, all right, so you do have a quarterback. Good, gotcha.
Yeah, let's start with DJ McKinney, cornerback with a C for Colorado.
Yep. Pete, see you.
Why do I like this guy so much? Well, one, because he's like a student of the game. He was, you say only, but a 3-star recruit, went to Oklahoma State, transferred to Colorado, right? Like a real buzz started to surround this guy at Oklahoma State. He gets poached, right? Now he's at Colorado playing for Coach Prime, one of the best cornerbacks ever to walk the face of the earth. And at media days, when Coach Prime was asked about what player he's looking forward to see this year, it was the first guy out of his mouth. And his work ethic is something that people talk about a lot. And so my thing about a guy like McKinney is at 6'2", like 200 pounds, he's a big dude. And I think he's kind of grown since he's been, in college, and he's gotten to become more fluid of an athlete, right? Like people talk about his hips a lot. I just know he's a guy who is projected right now, I think, as a top 2-3 round NFL draft pick. And having a cornerback who dominates in your conference is fun. Cornerback is just one of those special positions.
And this is an interesting one, too, because he came in with a ton of hype last year.
Yeah.
And he had a solid year. I kind of look at it like Caden Jenkins. 2 years ago, looked like he was going to be a stud. Last year was fairly solid, but some big-time mistakes, obviously in that Colorado game for Caden Jenkins being one of them. But you looked at that Colorado defense, it still wasn't off the page good. And you had Travis Hunter on the other side. So, he doesn't make an all Big 12 team. People are starting to question what he can do without Travis Hunter. I think that's probably a big reason why Deion's got him at the top of his list. And it was really
get a chance to show it. He'll get plenty of opportunities.
Yeah, there's going to be obviously great quarterbacks and some good receivers in this league for him to go up against. And last year it was Travis and Nikai Hill-Green who had a big game against Baylor, and that was kind of it for that defensive side of the ball. So that's an interesting one, Pete. I like that one. DJ McKinney, Caden Jenkins, both looking for bounce-back seasons. Both could be legit NFL prospects, like making some money kind of NFL prospects. So I like that one. But you have gone quarterback as well.
Yeah,
there's too many quarterbacks. Like there's bound to be ones that
I'll be quick. I have a dark horse too. That's totally that's off the board. Okay. So Connor Wegman, I think, a perfect situation for him. Yeah. You're going into a program where they're not going to ask too much of you, but you certainly are someone who's capable of doing it all. I mean, we all know about the reputation. I think it was from Cyprus. He was probably one of the best recruits, if not the best, in the 2022 class.
You went to the same high school as my old co-host, Braden.
Oh, really?
Yeah, both Cyprus guys.
Braden. So
I don't remember which side it is, but
did Braden like him?
I don't know, probably.
I mean, as a quarterback.
No, he did. Yeah,
I think this is one of those right place, right time, great fit, right, with Willie Fritz. Houston is moving in the right direction, and every year there's a team, especially in the Big 12, that will surprise you. Houston could be that team this year, thanks in part to Connor Wegman. Off the board, okay? Hoss Haney. Former TCU guy, transfers to Oklahoma State. They're still
Alito legend.
Alito guy, which everybody knows if you know Texas football, those Alito guys do not play, okay? There's something in the water. And his offensive coordinator, Meacham, was at TCU with him last year. So they both come over together. We've noticed people really romanticize about that stuff nowadays. I think Utah did the same thing, right, with you bring over Devin Dampier and his OC. So I think if the stars align, that could be a huge opportunity for this young man to have a huge year, because I think Oklahoma State is going to be a surprise team in the Big 12. Their biggest issue is offensive line, which can be a huge issue. They're not returning a ton of guys.
And that's why you like – I mean, I don't think that's the only reason. I think Doug Meacham wanted to bring a quarterback with him anyway, but – the kid can run. The kid can get out of the pocket. So maybe that's where he can ad-lib a little bit this year and really make a difference.
And Oklahoma's defense last year, Oklahoma State, could not stop a nosebleed. Yeah. I mean, they couldn't. They were north of 100 in rankings, giving up 30 points a game last year.
I think Baylor had 2 touchdown runs of 40 yards where I don't think they laid a finger on the guy.
I bet the Baylor-Oklahoma State game, okay? I wasn't calling it, just as a wager from afar, okay? Legalized gambling. I was just as excited that I bet on Baylor, that Oklahoma State would somehow produce for Baylor, whether they had the football or they didn't. I was like, every time I was like, oh, Baylor has the ball on offense. Of course, maybe they can score. But Oklahoma State has the ball on offense. Like, maybe Baylor can score too. That's not going to be the case this year. I don't believe that'll be the case at all. And I think that I think Mike Gundy is going to kind of I think he's going to stick it to some people this year, in the best way possible.
It's tough to not root for Mike Gundy.
It's almost impossible.
Yeah. Mike's an interesting one. We should have talked about it more in the first segment. This is real quick because we got to shut down this one. But like Mike should have won a little bit more, but it's not enough where like you can really complain. I think that's at least the outside view. I don't know about Oklahoma State fans. Maybe they're sick of him by this point, but I doubt it. But you know what I mean? It's like, should he have won more than one conference championship in 20 years? Yeah. Like just overall with the program that they have.
Well,
but
he doesn't run around kissing everybody's ass over there either, which I think that some folks close to the program have an issue with, and this is from people I've talked to, like up close and personal with Oklahoma State, as just why they've soured on him a little bit. He's just not going to be that guy during a down year that's like acting like it's a down year. He's going to act like Mike Gundy, you know, and he's still going to be arrogant and confident, which is why he's great and he's going to bounce back this year.
Speaking of guys who are not going to change their act, whatever act it might be, Deion Sanders back in Boulder this year? Question mark. Let's talk about it next on Locked On Baylor. All right, Pete. Time to talk about your favorite character in this conference. I think that's fair to say. Is Deion Sanders back at Colorado in 2025? He has the press conference on Monday and basically says, finally reveals what's been going on. I know you and I have both talked about this on air, speculated about it on air. It's been question of a lot of Big 12 fans' minds throughout this offseason. What's going on with Deion Sanders? We finally got an answer on Monday. Pete, I know you were tuned into this one.
Yeah, I was tuned in. That's why I had Kevin Borba from Locked On Buffs on my show this morning, because I kind of wanted to tee it up. Yeah.
What a move. That's a pro, man.
I can produce a little too. That wasn't Scotty Swingler making that phone call. So, but first of all, one thing about Deion, I love how football people or people like you make me feel like I'm the one with the issue because I like Deion Sanders. That is great. That's
you
great.
Can like him, but top 5, I'm just not in.
Yeah, I mean, really, like, it's like, wait a minute, like, this is one of the best cornerbacks of all time. He's literally like come into college football and hit it over the head with a baseball bat. I mean, like it or not, he has. And like, he went to almost the college football playoff last year. They had some missteps late, but like, and we're talking about this guy like, you like Deion, but come on, guy's a great coach.
Be damned if I like Deion.
Yeah. So I think that today was another day where, again, like Deion kind of defied the odds, because it's like when I saw that there was going to be a press conference, I did not believe, just because he was at Big 12 Media Days, I don't think you plan for a press conference where Deion can't coach. I honestly, like, if Deion wasn't going to coach this year, I would have thought like they would have just announced it, because something would have been very, very wrong in that moment. So the fact that they were holding a press conference, I figured it was probably decent news and some revealing stuff. And once again, this guy defies odds. 1, by beating bladder cancer. That's pretty amazing. 2, here's this guy. And this is why Deion is more like Dave Aranda than he's not. Here's this guy sitting at a podium, big, tough Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, one of the baddest dudes in the world, talking about bladder cancer and how now everything has changed with him internally and he can't pee like he used to. And
he's having fun with it. He's having some
fun with it.
He
is depending on depends.
It's
like,
great.
I mean, that's like the guys, nobody wants to talk about that. That's up there with like, what do they call that? When you're sexually
ED.
When you have ED. Yeah, that's up there
some
with ED.
reads on that on the Locked On Podcast Network, so I can say that. Yeah.
Yeah, ED. So like, but here's Deion Sanders like destigmatizing this whole thing and doing a little bit of, hey, everybody should get checked. Especially African American guys. I know my black brothers don't like going to the doctor, but you got to go. I mean, and it was like, wow. Like, it was a reminder of some of those intangibles I talked about that he brings that is just like, I'm like, who are we watching? This is really, really cool that he's doing that. And I don't think, and again, this goes back to one of the reasons I say he is one of the best coaches in the Big 12. He's not overly involved. Yeah. Like, and you could maybe take a shot at him for that, but I think he'll be just fine being just fine and not 100% or 100%.
Well, so this is kind of going into my next point, and it's probably the last thing I'll ask you here. Is like, for those like me, right, the football guys who are, don't necessarily need the Deion shtick as much as we need Deion to win 10 games, right? There were a lot of us that were skeptical, and I'm going to put myself in this because I had half a mind of thinking, all right, not that there's nothing wrong with him, because clearly there was something wrong, but it's like, is this kind of the first way that he can get out of this before we knew it was bladder cancer? Like, his kids aren't there anymore. And Travis Hunter, who's like a third kid to him, or third kid on the team last year, is not there anymore. I think we all questioned whether Deion was going to continue to coach at Colorado when it didn't have a direct influence on his kids. And that was he going to have the dedication to do this 365-day-a-year job. And not only is he doing it, but he has beaten cancer in the spring. And now he's coaching in the fall. Like, what is that? What should that do for those who aren't like you, Pete, that aren't all in on Deion Sanders? Should that like change people's minds about Deion Sanders, the football coach, the college football coach?
I think it should. I think it shows. And honestly, I'm not going to sit here and act like I didn't think the same thing for a second. Like, oh, maybe he's like, this is pretty interesting door to walk through now and get out of here. If this is legitimate, which obviously it is. I just think like we underestimate this guy as a competitor and just like a overall like bad dude who wants to win like crazy. And I also think we underestimate. It's like I talked about off the top, like something's happening at Colorado. Like there's not necessarily a bunch of toys there this year. Right. They've actually got like some blue collar stuff, like some meat and potatoes. Like the entire roster has been getting so much better since Deion arrived. Yeah, you can't replace Shedeur and Travis Hunter. You can't. And if the play at quarterback sucks this year, they could be screwed, right? But like, I think that there is like an internal part of this team that has become a good football team.
And you're gonna need to kind of going off that point, you're gonna need to probably trudge through the mud this year. You're probably not gonna be a Big 12 contender, and you're gonna have to do that without the idea that next year we'll still have Travis and Shedeur the way they did in 2023, right? Like they're 4-8, and it was a mess, but you knew that there's kind of this light at the end of the tunnel. It's also interesting how much they went through the transfer portal every year that he's been there, and now you're going to need some continuity. You're going to need to keep those guys there after what could well be a tough year this year, both the coach and the team. You're going to need to keep those guys there. It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, there's no question. It'll be super interesting, like it always is. One of the things Coach Prime said at media days, it was the first thing he said, and this again, like whatever. I sound like beating a dead horse now or a broken record, but like they were every single game that they played was on like either linear or like ESPN 1 or 2, and there were like I don't know, like a handful or maybe no other. I think Ohio State and stuff. There weren't many other programs in the country that had that. Set aside for them. Like, you're either on Fox, ABC, or ESPN or ESPN2.
Yep.
And that's impressive, dude. And like, I feel like he's into that. He's into the growth that Colorado's experienced, but he's also, I think he looks at his football team and he's like, I think we're pretty good. Like I think he does not think he knows they're way better than that first team they had. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And he says they're a better team than last year. They just don't have the stars. So we'll see.
We'll see what it's like. It's going to be one heck of a conference this year. Pete Sousa of the Pete Sousa Show and Inside the 12. You can catch the Pete Sousa Show live on YouTube every weekday, 10 a.m. Central Time, 11 Eastern, right on YouTube. Get involved in the comment section. A lot of Baylor talk over there, so go check it out. And for those of you watching right now, get involved in our comment section. Let me know what you think about Pete's top 5 list, who's going to surprise you this year, and what it means to have Deion fully back and into this thing. Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to like and subscribe. Helps out the channel a ton as we are on the march towards 4,000 subscribers. Thank you for making it your first listen today and every day. And we will see you tomorrow on your favorite show, Locked On Baylor.